Okay, hi guys, welcome to our first video on portfolio review. And today we'll focus on the framework. How do we evaluate portfolios? Why do we use this criteria? And just to refresh, so I'm Monica, I'm a design director and hiring manager. I specialize in mindful products that help people become healthier and happier.
Hello, I'm Silu, product designer based in New York City. I specialize in consumer-facing products, whether it's with AI, without AI, or at scale or from scratch.
Yeah, so before we start, couple notes on how to use this framework. Design field has been evolving, and with the AI picking up, it's going to be changing even more. So definitely use this criteria as the conversation starter, not as a rigid framework, not as a pass or fail checklist. And obviously, your resume, I would really be in doubt if it passes all the check marks that we have here. But in general, if it passes 75, 80, you're in a good spot. The context definitely matters. It does matter if you're applying for the design manager position or is you're looking for your first job. So also keep that in mind. And also, great portfolios often break the rules. So don't be scared to experiment, to get curious, and know that your portfolio is going to be evolving. What you have right now will be very different from a year from now. So just be open to new ideas and stay curious. Okay, so before we dive into the details of each of these dimensions, here's a slide that lists all of them. And in general, for this project, I'll take the personal brand and identity. It's very dear to my heart. I'll take the visual quality and craft. I'll focus on storytelling, communication, and also growth and career.
And I will talk about design process and thinking, innovation, keeping up with trends, strategic systems, what kind of projects you select. So everything around this UI, UX, and AI direction, I will cover that.
Amazing. Let's dive in. So the first criteria that we're looking into is personal brand and identity. And this is very important. I cannot stress enough how important it is. Because as a hiring manager looking into bringing new talent to the team, I pay attention to the personality. Also, as AI is evolving, picking up more and more tasks, as it becomes easier and easier to create beautiful designs, your personal brand really should be shining through that portfolio. This is putting the name to your work. It's helping me figure out what your personality could be so that I can build a successful team. It's also important because usually hiring managers get 800 plus applications, and it's very hard to go through each one in detail. So if I see your personal brand shining through, it just becomes easier for you to get noticed, and for your application to make it to the final list. And then also because you're a designer, and branding is a part of the design. If I see that your portfolio reflects your brand, to me, it's a signal that you'll be working to work with brands for other companies, right? And you can do your job. So we'll be looking at, different things within the brand and identity section. First off is the profile photo. Again, it could be my subjective opinion, but I am looking at the picture to get more sense of your personality. Headline, tagline, this is branding 101. If you think about any product on the market, say Apple, Google, they all have powerful taglines that help their brand get noticed. So us as designers or any other professional, really, we should have that tagline, and the tagline should be visible. So when I open the portfolio, and see a bunch of projects that signal design, but I don't really know what people specialize. So the graphic designers, so the product designers, so they're like fashion designers, there so much. So having that clear tagline helps me quickly scan you as a candidate, and then match it to our job description. Your voice and personality. This is about your personal brand colors, your personal voice, how you write about yourself, how you present. Um, your LinkedIn presence is also very important. Um, LinkedIn is the our platform for professional communications. At the bare minimum, I would be looking into your, LinkedIn profile. If I want to dig deeper, I would be looking into recommendations that people, your colleagues, wrote for you. Also, as the to help me figure out what kind of person, what kind of worker you are. Of course, about page. I don't need your whole life narrative, just what you stand for, what you do, how can you help me, my company, reach our goals. Social community presence. This is also nice to have, but I also want to be inclusive with people who are not very social, they might not have the Instagram, but having the dedicated Instagram where you upload your artworks, upload design, where you talk about your life also helps me with the selection. Memorable name, domain, this is all to the same bucket of how do I remember you, right? Why should I remember you? Contact info, your portfolio should have the main thing. Uh, how do I contact you? Make sure you have your email. Any other design related networks, platforms that your designs featured, all very helpful. And the separate section of this criteria is your resume. Your resume should be a part of the same brand as your portfolio. At the bare minimum, they should be the same font. If your portfolio is very simple and minimalist, your resume, I would expect, should match that as well. Um, you can be a little bit more creative, include your personal logo on the resume, but at the bare minimum, it should look coherent, it should look aligned. Resume also should have your contact information, link to the portfolio, so that everything is linked together. And when I look at the candidate, I usually have a separate tab where I keep their resume, their social links, and their portfolio. And it's, to me, presents this holistic view of the candidate. And the main question, just to reinforce, is why should I remember you? The second part is the visual quality and craft. And the main question here is, should I trust your hands? Um, Visual execution of your entire portfolio is very important because it proves me that you can do what you claim you can do. The most important thing here that I'm looking is your taste and your eye. Because with AI, like I said before, everyone can create beautiful designs. And also, learning design is easier than working on your eye. How do we train our eye? It's through years of looking at designs, browsing Pinterest, browsing other portfolios, just in general, training your visual perception. And that takes years. And that's exactly what I'm looking in that portfolio. Also, attention to detail. Design is a profession when you have to be um, paying attention to details, of course. I've seen some portfolios where particular projects were nailed down, very good quality, but then some parts of the portfolio were just not to that standard. So attention to detail, consistency, this is the skills that you would use at your everyday work. And of course, that should be shining here through your portfolio as well. Image asset quality, the same thing. It's finding your balance. Of course, you're not going to have super large images because they won't render fast, but at the same time, make sure all the assets are um, in good quality. Another thing is your range of skills. um, I'm might be a little bit biased because I'm a multidisciplinary designer. I'm coming from different spheres of the design, but I think at this point in the evolution of design, this is exactly where we're moving into with AI that can help us um, be more detailed in some areas. I think the goal of a designer nowadays is to be able to work on different projects within design, whether it's branding, graphic design, UX, UI, project management, and other things. So if you have animation, if you have interesting skills within design, this is a good opportunity to showcase them all. And last but not least, but it's the visual quality and craft of the portfolio website itself. And we kind of touched a little bit on this in the first part, but this is more about the quality of the portfolio side.
So the third part of the framework is the design process, how you think, um, how do you find answers and solution when no one is handing you the answers, when someone is actually giving you a problem and you actually need to find the solution. So one thing very important is that design is about problem solving. That is the core of design. How do you make your user's life or whatever task they're doing easier, better, intuitive, frictionless in general? So, in your case studies, what we're trying to see is how you frame that problem, how you think about that problem. So, we're trying to look at your brain more than how your design looks. We do look at how the design looks, but the core part is how you're framing the problem, how you think.
Right.
That's very important. The second thing is in your thinking, how are you doing your research? How do you treat your research? Um, how are you questioning in your research and discovery phase to understand that problem better in your journey to find solution to that particular problem? So we're trying to see all the messy parts as well, not just how you came to the last solution. Another thing is the user personas, the journey maps, the why of everything. Why are you doing this? For whom are you doing this, right? So a
Mhm.
solution cannot work for everyone. A solution is for your user target. How do you align these tools is also a big question. And then comes again to iteration and divergence. Um, how are you bringing in the right ideas, right? We want to see how you made those decisions. If something didn't work, why it didn't work. It's not that always you always don't need to show I came to the right solution. That usually is not the process. There's many wrong things that we stumble upon in the beginning, and it's important to show what was wrong, what you figured out, and how you diverted from that and found the right or the best solution for that specific problem. And then, of course, we want to see validations. How did you come to this solution? Is it just because of your analysis, which is important because we want to see how you're thinking, but we also want to see, did you really test it with at least your particular focus group, because that's who you are designing for. So the whole design rationale is very important. The whole reasoning behind how you're thinking, how you're solving this particular problem is very important.
Yes, no, 100%, Silu. And I would add a couple of points here that often when I look at the portfolios, I see the final result. People just say, okay, here's what happened, the company that I worked, and the final result. But in the design world, the truth and the matter that about 90% of the designs are thrown in trash. So like just think about it. 90% of what we do as designers is in trash, just to get to this gem, right, of 10% of really good designs. And as the hiring manager, I want to dig in that trash. Like I want to see what was this 90% to help me validate whether that 10% was a good design. And the second note, obviously most of the portfolios that we will be reviewing, there will be entry level designers because that's the people that we want to help. Well, me and Silu are fascinated by the design. We've been in the field for quite a while. This is not our first profession, so to speak. We transitioned to this field because we believed in this potential, and we want you guys to have that opportunity to find the job that you love. And obviously when you're starting off, you don't have that experience, right? So using this framework even more important for you guys. Even if it's not the real project, I encourage you to think through all the steps. Even if it's fake project you're designing on the website for some Bob, who's selling who's selling milkshakes. Just think through as if it's a real project. And we do want to see very similar framework, because to me as a hiring manager it would be like, okay, that person doesn't have experience, but at least they understand how to work in real life.
All right, so the fourth part of our framework is around innovation and AI, emerging technology trends. So this doesn't necessarily mean only AI. The world of design, the world of technology is always evolving. So when someone signs up to be a designer, you're signing up to evolve with technology and always be learning whatever new comes in. That could be trends in UIs or UX, and now we have AI. So it's more about you we have to be in touch with the trends, and now we have AI. And it's also important to not just take so now we have a trend AI, we make designs on AI and you just take it. It's now actually even more important to have this really in-depth knowledge about design, about strategy, about why, how, when to use what, all of this, because it's easier to design as AI is going to give you the designs, but it's you who actually need to think through what is the output from those AI design tools. Are you going to take it as it is, or are you going to actually critically think about it and
Mhm.
analyze it? Is it solving the problem that you are trying to solve, or like you're trying to solve together now with AI, for example? So now it's even more important to have even in-depth knowledge of design to be able to analyze AI outputs. What are the kind of prompts feeding the AI? Really even more important to go learn more about design, and how are you tweaking your iterations in these AI design tools. Or maybe it could be in the prompt in itself. It could be, you take what AI gives you and then you iterate yourself. So it's important to learn when you need to do those iterations. So I think that is also a very big part of using AI in design. Also, what is your point of view on AI? How do you use it? How, like, what it gives you? Like, do you really to what extent do you analyze the results from AI, right? And then now it's also important, okay, if AI gives you some sort of design, how are you going to enhance that design with a human touch? That is ever more important now that we have been seeing every single design is not every single, but there are a lot of designs that are just very general AI slop. So how do you now stand out and bring in your personal human touch, your
Yeah.
critical thinking to those designs is very important. And I think it's important to show that in, maybe it could be in your case studies, it could be in your playground where you could just play around with AI tools, and maybe now it's, I think there's more ways, more creative ways to show how you think.
Yes, I love this. I love this kind of AI giving you an opportunity to be a stronger designer. And this point to me is like, yeah, how flexible you are, how eager to learn you are. And yeah, today is AI, tomorrow is something else. It's how well you adapt
Yes.
to the new changes. Love it.
Okay, so the fifth part of our framework is strategic and systems thinking. So, can you scale? For example, if you design a new component for a completely different, new feature in the app, are you thinking about your company's design system? Are you thinking about the operating system design system? It could be iOS human guidelines or Android's GM3.
Mhm.
Are you thinking about the company's brand design system as well? So there's a lot of things to take into account. So if you're designing a feature, it's not just about, hey, I designed this, but you also have to think what you have designed. Does it align with the operating system, for example, the liquid design system? Does it align with your company's brand designs? Does it align with your app's overall design system? And on top of that, in terms of cross-functional awareness, we also need to be thinking, okay, this new feature, the UI and the UX that I designed, does it align with our technical limitations? So you have to check with engineers as well, whether
Mhm.
that's feasible or not. So it's important. So we would like to see how you collaborate cross-functionally across different teams, especially with engineers, and also overall product as well? Do you think about the business context when you're designing? So it is really a big wholesome picture. It's not just one little thing. And then on top of that, is this new design that you brought in is reaching is let's say at least AA standards of accessibility, which is very important, because if we design for accessibility, we're actually designing for everyone. We're making everyone's
Yeah.
life easier. There are all of these things that comes into play, and that is very important. So that also differentiates whether you're a senior designer or you're a junior designer. That differentiates, that highlights how you think: scalability, accessibility, inclusion, cross-functional awareness, the context of the business, the entire design system as in a whole is very important to take into account. Those details matter.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think one minor note here is in your portfolios, you're likely to be working with either existing design systems or brand guides, or you'll be creating your new ones for your school projects and stuff like this. So the way I would be kind of on the lookout is, if you're working with existing ones, is how you're using the existing system for your designs. If you're creating a new one, I'll be looking at the question of why. Like, why did you choose this button colors and stuff like this?
So the sixth part of framework is around project selection and curation. So I think this is one of the most interesting and the most easiest thing to kind of tackle. So this is all about you. So now it's your chance to bring in and show your best work on the first view of your portfolio. So a couple of things that matters in this is, first of all, choose the one that is your best work. Second thing, if possible, try to show your diverse portfolio. For example, one could be maybe about a design system you made, and another one could be about a particular feature you designed, and another one could be about a specific problem you solve. So it really depends on how what your case studies are, but it's ideal if we try to show diverse case studies in the first view of the portfolio. And if you have your passion projects as well, I would recommend, if it's very strong, do put it out there. Just because if something is a passion project doesn't mean that we don't want to see it. We want to see it. We want to see how you think through what are you passionate about? How do you match context and your passion into your case study? And in terms of number of projects that you
Mhm.
show, I would say depends on how you frame, like how your portfolio first view is designed as well. But definitely, maybe I would say three. What do you think, Money?
Yeah, I honestly, as a hiring manager, time is always my constraint. So even in the best case scenario, I think maximum projects I can look and scan when I look at the candidates, right? And imagine like I have 800 applications. It would be around three. So I would rather look at three, but they will be very nice presented, um, than 10, but totally random. And and the first project is the most likely to be looked at, right? The two and three, so make sure that the very first project is spotless. And one thing, from my experience looking at the school projects, I've noticed, and even me myself, back in the times, I totally made the same mistake until one of the recruiters pointed this out for me. But if you have fake project, or if you took the existing brand, for example, Apple, and you created this um, imaginary campaign, definitely mention that it was not the real project, that it was not for the Apple, it was not for any of those brands. And I think that is more honest, that is less confusing to the hiring manager, because she was already calling all these big names that I mentioned on my student project. um, but that shows you honesty, and honesty is always good. And also one note is, I'm looking um, into the more like brand narrative. So it's good to show different skills within this project. But I think it's also important, at least for me, that this projects, so that the three projects that you have in your portfolio, they somehow connect. For example, if my tagline is I design projects in health, fitness, mindful consumption, I would expect that my projects would reflect that. It wouldn't be designing the car design and the next project is like graphic design. It's kind of all over the place. It would still kind of stay with that narrative. And the good news is that you can connect. It's all about how you present and pitch, but make sure that that narrative is spotless. Mhm. So the seventh part, it's very similar to the branding, but it's different because this is more how you present your projects, right? This is how your personal brand, your storytelling shines through each of the projects that you create. And also keep in mind, all of us human beings, we love stories. That's the most powerful brands in the world. Those are with very powerful brand narratives. And here, when I look at your projects, I want to see that story. It's like, hey, PM came to me. We had this problem. People are confused by some feature, and I'm on a mission to make it happen, right? If you have video walkthroughs through your Figma files, that to me would be also priceless, because not only I can see the problem, but I can also see how you present it, how you organized everything in your Figma, right? So you're opening the curtain, um, and I can see more of that design kitchen. The audience awareness should be definitely, like we mentioned before, part of this story. Your user is the hero in that story, right? Not your company, not you or a brand. How you can help that hero move through his um, yeah, so it's basically how you help that hero that your user is move through the feature. And it's also about the case study depth. How well did you cover all the important parts? But in summary, this is you as a storyteller. To me, as a hiring manager, if you have nicely executed story, it would tell me that if I give you any project here, you could compellingly tell the same story, whether it's presentation to the stakeholders in the Google deck, or whether it's through particular feature. Okay, so last but not least, it's growth and potential, especially very important to me as a hiring manager. That question I ask a lot in the interviews. How do you envision yourself in 5 years? And that career clarity is important here. The self-awareness is important. How well a person knows what they're good at, where they want to go. Um, Community involvement, this is definitely extra, like nice to have. But nowadays, the world needs our initiatives. So if you're a member of the sustainability committee, your local communities, if you're volunteering, cleaning up the oceans, for example, or if you're helping other designers like you, this is all to me a sign that yes, I want this person on board, right? Because every company have their own initiatives, and it's always good to have active members of your design team who are driven by curiosity. We have curiosity signals here, but curiosity is definitely one of the most important things I'm looking at. Okay, guys, yeah, this is it, what we have for you for today. More content is coming, and the next video will cover a framework that we're going to be using to evaluate your branding projects. But for now, if you have a portfolio that you want us to have a look, we'll attach the form to the video description. And there is a huge chance that in the future videos, we will review your portfolio.
Yes, if you are interested, do drop in your portfolio, and do not worry, you don't have to meet all of these criterias to be a great designer. It really depends on who you are, how you think, how you solve your problem, and how you present yourself in your portfolio.